Beyond the outer event horizon of rotating Kerr black holes lies an inner boundary where space-time curves so severely that closed loops become possible, offering a theoretical cosmic highway for traveling backward into deep history. Space itself ceases to behave as a passive stage and becomes an active, twisting vortex driven by the unrelenting momentum of a collapsed star spinning near the absolute limit of light. As an intrepid traveler slips past the outer threshold, the familiar coordinates of reality dissolve into a churning ocean of gravitational tides, pulling them deeper toward the hidden core. Here, the ordinary laws governing cause and effect begin to fray at the edges, warping under the immense rotational force of the singularity waiting below. This churning geometry creates a profound shift in the architecture of the cosmos, where the forward march of time can tilt, fold, and loop back onto itself. Deep within this mathematical labyrinth resides the Cauchy horizon, a delicate boundary marking the absolute edge of predictability where the future and the past bleed into one another. Crossing this threshold does not lead to an ordinary destination, but rather into a realm of closed time-like curves, paths through space-time that bend completely around to intersect their own origins. Following such a trajectory would theoretically allow a traveler to witness ancient epochs of the universe unfold before their eyes, turning history from a fixed line into a navigable circle. Yet, this theoretical highway is protected by fierce physical mechanisms, as in falling radiation accumulates infinitely at the boundary, threatening to incinerate anything that dares to probe the secret. Whether nature permits passage through this ultimate temporal portal or shields the cosmos with a catastrophic barrier remains one of the deepest unresolved mysteries of modern theoretical physics. To truly grasp the magnitude of this phenomenon, one must look closely at the mechanics of rotation on a cosmic scale. When a massive star exhausts its nuclear fuel and collapses under its own immense weight, any residual angular momentum is conserved, causing the resulting black hole to spin at incomprehensible speeds. This rotation drags the very fabric of space-time along with it in a phenomenon known as frame dragging, creating a dynamic whirlpool where static space cannot exist. Outside this spinning core, the event horizon splits into two distinct layers, separating the outer point of no return from the inner sanctuary, where the geometry of the universe undergoes a radical transformation. Between these two horizons lies the ergosphere, a region where space flows like a torrential river, forcing everything within it to rotate in unison with the central mass. As one descends past the outer boundary, the gravitational gradient steepens exponentially, stretching matter into thin threads of elementary particles through tidal forces known as spaghettification. Yet, for an idealized observer navigating a Kerr black hole with sufficient rotational velocity, the interior presents an alternative mathematical reality that bypasses the crushing singularity at the center. Instead of terminating in a point of infinite density, the mathematics of the Kerr metric reveals a ring singularity, encircling an open core that acts as a gateway to distant regions of space-time or entirely different universes. Approaching this ring requires traversing the Cauchy horizon, the critical juncture where determinism breaks down because initial conditions no longer suffice to predict the future. At this precise mathematical threshold, the equations of general relativity permit multiple valid outcomes, opening the door to closed time-like curves that defy our intuitive understanding of chronological progression. These closed loops imply that an object could travel along a trajectory that brings it back to an event in its own past, creating causal loops that have fascinated physicists and philosophers for generations. The sheer audacity of this concept challenges the foundational principle of causality, which dictates that every effect must be preceded by its cause in a strict, unbroken sequence. If the Cauchy horizon permits a traveler to step outside this linear progression, the universe must find a way to reconcile paradoxes, such as interacting with events that have already been finalized. Quantum mechanics introduces another layer of complexity to this already staggering landscape, as vacuum fluctuations piling up at the boundary threaten to destroy the smooth geometry required for passage. As energy from the external universe falls into the spinning black hole, it gets blue shifted to infinite frequencies along the inner horizon, creating a wall of high-energy radiation, often referred to as the mass inflation singularity. This buildup suggests that nature abhors a naked Cauchy horizon, effectively censoring the region behind a chaotic storm of quantum energy that obliterates any macroscopic structure attempting to cross. Theoretical physicists continue to debate whether this instability is an absolute law or merely an artifact of incomplete models that fail to incorporate a fully realized theory of quantum gravity. Some models propose that back reaction from quantum fields smooths out the singularity, allowing the gentle passage into the interior realms where time loses its unidirectional flow. Others suggest that the horizon undergoes a phase transition, sealing off the interior loop entirely and preserving the sanctity of chronological order across the broader multiverse. As humanity gazes out into the silent expanse of the cosmos, these distant gravitational behemoths stand as eternal monuments to the limits of our current understanding, whispering secrets of dimensions and epochs yet unreached. The journey toward the Cauchy horizon is ultimately a voyage into the deepest recesses of the human imagination, driven by an unquenchable thirst to understand the true nature of existence, space, and the relentless ticking of the clock. To understand how the fabric of space can fold back onto itself, one must peer beyond the swirling veil of the mass inflation zone and examine the underlying topology of the rotating metric. When Einstein field equations are solved for a stationary, axisymmetric gravitational field, the resulting geometry possesses a remarkable symmetry that permits paths reversing the temporal sequence. These trajectories do not merely slow down time as experienced near light speed. They actively redirect the vector of duration, turning what was once a future anticipation into a physical location that has already occurred. The mathematics dictates that as an object penetrates deeper past the inner boundary, the separation between spatial dimensions and temporal duration collapses, allowing movement through time to become as mechanically feasible as walking across a room. In this strange interior domain, the centrifugal forces generated by the spinning singularity counteract the inward pull of gravity, creating a zone of relative stability suspended between crushing extremes. Within this suspended core, the traveler finds themselves drifting through a quiescent corridor where the frantic clamor of the external universe fades into a distant, muffled hum. Here, light rays travel in closed orbits, looping endlessly around the ring singularity and painting overlapping images of the same cosmic events across different eras. An observer floating in this chamber could look out and watch the birth and death of stars playing out simultaneously in a chaotic, beautiful mosaic of compressed history. This visual superposition occurs because photons emitted eons ago are trapped in the eternal dance of the rotational vortex, circling the core countless times before crossing the path of the viewer. The sheer density of information packed into this region transforms the interior of the black hole into a grand archive of the cosmos, preserving every piece of matter and radiation that ever fell past the threshold. Navigating such a space requires an entirely new paradigm of navigation, one where coordinates are measured not in spatial distance alone, but in phases of recurrence and temporal offset. The traveler must align their vessel with the precise angular momentum of the chosen loop, matching the rotational frequency of the local spacetime to avoid being sheared apart by differential tidal forces. Once locked into this resonant frequency, the craft ceases to fight the current and instead becomes an integral part of the cosmic engine, riding the gravitational waves toward the intersection point of the past. As the trajectory bends sharply, the ambient temperature fluctuates wildly, driven by the echoes of compressed energy bouncing off the walls of the inner boundary. Quantum foam bubbles furiously in the background, creating microscopic tears in the spatial fabric that flash into existence and vanish before they can fully realize their destructive potential. In these fleeting moments of calm, the boundaries between what was, what is, and what is yet to come dissolve entirely, leaving only the pure, unadulterated flow of eternity. The philosophical implications of this journey ripple outward, challenging the very bedrock of scientific inquiry and forcing humanity to rethink its place within the grand tapestry of reality. We are left to wonder whether time is a fundamental property of the universe or merely a persistent illusion born from our limited vantage point within an expanding cosmos. As the vessel glides further along the closed loop, the distant past begins to crystallize into vivid, tangible reality, offering a glimpse into epochs that vanished long before our species first cast its gaze toward the stars. The journey does not end with an arrival at a physical port, but rather with a profound realization that the universe is far stranger, more interconnected, and infinitely more eternal than our boldest equations have ever dared to suggest. To comprehend the true scale of this temporal displacement, one must examine how the very concept of distance transforms when spatial vectors and temporal durations become interchangeable within the core. When the metric signature flips inside the Cauchy horizon, the coordinate that was previously time takes on the properties of space, while one of the spatial dimensions assumes the role of time, meaning that moving forward or backward is physically equivalent to changing one's spatial position along a specific axis. This inversion strips away the familiar anchors of existence, replacing the steady ticking of a clock with physical distances that must be traversed to experience a shift in chronological epochs. The traveler is no longer an outside observer watching history unfold on a distant screen. They are physically embedded within the timeline, moving through historical geography as easily as an explorer walks across an uncharted continent. The surrounding space glows with the phosphorescent remnants of ancient starlight, caught in eternal orbits around the central ring, casting long, iridescent shadows that stretch across millions of years of accumulated cosmic history. Every photon, every stray atom, and every fragment of infalling matter contributes to this luminous tapestry, creating a dense, glowing fog of pure information that wraps around the vessel like a protective shroud. Within this radiant expanse, the laws of thermodynamics appear to pause, holding molecular agitation in a delicate balance between total chaos and crystalline order, suspended by the sheer kinetic fury of the spinning singularity overhead. The pressure exerted by the vacuum fluctuations reaches an astronomical zenith, yet the geometry remains eerily tranquil at the precise center of the vortex, providing a narrow corridor where the destructive forces of mass inflation momentarily cancel each other out. Navigating this corridor demands absolute precision, for a deviation of even a fraction of a millisecond in trajectory or a microscopic miscalculation in angular velocity could hurl the vessel back into the chaotic fury of the blue-shifted radiation wall. The control panels flicker with ethereal light as automated systems struggle to process the non-Euclidean geometry, mapping a route through a landscape where straight lines curve into circles and parallel paths inevitably intersect at the nexus of the past. As the ship aligns itself with the designated closed time-like curve, the external universe begins to redshift into a deep, velvety darkness, while the focal point of the destination brightens into a blinding starburst of compressed chronology. This is the moment of temporal transition, where the forward momentum of the vessel carries it across the invisible seam, separating the present from a bygone era, seamlessly stitching the traveler into the fabric of a forgotten epoch. The physical sensations of acceleration vanish, replaced by a profound stillness that permeates both the ship and the consciousness of the occupant, as if time itself has paused to catch its breath before resuming its relentless march. Looking back through the viewing ports, the swirling accretion disk of the black hole appears like a distant halo of gold and crimson fire, a fading beacon marking the gateway between the world left behind and the history now waiting to be explored. This transition redefines the boundaries of exploration, proving that the universe does not merely store its memories in the fossilized strata of planets and stars, but actively preserves them in dynamic, navigable vaults hidden behind the most extreme gravitational barriers ever conceived. The traveler steps out onto the shores of deep antiquity, bearing witness to worlds and civilizations that vanished before the solar system was even a swirling cloud of dust and gas, finding a strange, comforting kinship with the ancient cosmos. This continuity of existence shatters the illusion of isolation, revealing that every epoch is intimately connected to every other through invisible threads of space-time that stretch across the infinite architecture of the multiverse. The journey presses onward through the endless corridors of the rotating metric, charting new pathways through the boundless ocean of eternity, guided by the silent, unyielding pull of the gravitational vortex that holds the secrets of all creation within its spinning heart. As the vessel stabilizes within this ancient epoch, the surrounding expanse reveals a pristine cosmos untouched by the later violence of galactic evolution, bathed in the faint, primordial glow of a universe still in its infancy. The spatial coordinates here are entirely foreign, devoid of the familiar constellations and stellar clusters that define the modern night sky, presenting instead a vast, undulating sea of hot gas and nascent dust clouds coalescing under the gentle pull of gravity. The traveler watches in silent awe as colossal stellar nurseries ignite across the void, bursting into brilliant arcs of ultraviolet light that sculpt the surrounding nebulae into magnificent pillars of creation and destruction. This is a living museum of cosmic history, where the fundamental processes of matter organization unfold in real time, offering empirical proof that the universe operates as an interconnected continuum, rather than a disjointed series of isolated events. The ship glides effortlessly along the smooth contours of the closed time-like curve, its propulsion systems resting while the natural momentum of the warped space-time carries it deeper into the heart of this bygone era. Every movement through this temporal loop reinforces the intricate symmetry of the Kerr metric, proving that the geometry of a rotating black hole is not merely a mathematical curiosity, but a profound architectural feature of the multiverse. The ambient energy within the corridor remains balanced, shielding the craft from the fierce radiation storms that rage near the outer boundaries, creating a tranquil oasis of pure contemplation amidst the cosmic tempest. Within this sanctuary, the traveler reflects upon the fragility of linear perception, recognizing that the human compulsion to view time as a straight line is merely a survival mechanism suited for simpler environments, far removed from the extreme physics of singularities. The architecture of the space-time continuum reveals itself as a multidimensional tapestry where past, present, and future coexist simultaneously, waiting to be traversed by those bold enough to harness the staggering rotational energy of collapsed stars. As the vessel continues its silent drift, the scenery slowly shifts, bringing new vistas of ancient galactic formation into view, each more breathtaking and complex than the last, whispering the timeless secrets of a universe that remembers everything it has ever created. The journey through the Cauchy horizon transforms from a daring physical experiment into a profound philosophical pilgrimage, bridging the vast chasm between human consciousness and the eternal mechanisms that govern the stars, ensuring that the legacy of exploration endures far beyond the conventional boundaries of life and space. The persistent drift through the ancient epoch deepens as the vessel approaches a convergence point where multiple closed loops intersect, creating a nexus of overlapping timelines that hum with a faint, resonant frequency. The instruments on board register this transition not as a physical jolt, but as a subtle shift in the ambient pressure of space, a gentle reminder that the ship is navigating a region where cause and effect engage in an eternal, looping dance. Here, the boundary between distinct eras thins completely allowing faint echoes of future events to bleed backward into the primordial landscape, creating an intricate web of temporal resonance that defies conventional logic. The traveler watches as localized gravitational anomalies bend the light of newborn stars into bizarre, distorted arcs, painting complex geometric patterns across the dark canvas of the void. These visual phenomena serve as a constant testament to the immense power of the spinning metric, which bends not only the paths of physical objects, but also the very rays of illumination that carry the history of the cosmos from one domain to another. As the journey unfolds along this intricate trajectory, the ship passes through invisible corridors of charged particles that spiral harmoniously around the central ring, guided by the unseen magnetic fields of the ancient black hole. This delicate balance of forces ensures that the vessel remains undisturbed by the surrounding chaos, protected within a pocket of localized stability that moves with the grace of a celestial body caught in a perpetual dance. The interior of the craft glows with a soft, ambient luminescence, reflecting off the polished bulkheads, mirroring the distant starlight, filtering through the non-Euclidean viewing ports. In this quiet sanctuary, the passage of duration is felt only as a deep, rhythmic pulse, aligning the consciousness of the occupant with the vast, heartbeat-like rhythm of the rotating singularity miles away. The philosophical weight of this exploration becomes ever more apparent as the traveler contemplates the sheer permanence of the information encoded within the gravitational vortex. Every choice made, every star born, and every civilization that will eventually rise and fall in the distant future is already safely cataloged within this cosmic archive, preserved in the eternal geometry of the closed time-like curves. The ship glides effortlessly across this vast expanse, moving deeper into the timeless interior, ready to uncover the next layer of secrets hidden within the magnificent architecture of the rotating universe, where the boundaries of history dissolve into an endless, beautiful horizon of pure possibility. The continuous forward movement along the intersecting loops brings the vessel toward a region of heightened gravitational intensity, where the space-time continuum begins to ripple with waves of pure, unadulterated energy. These ripples are the harmonic oscillations of the Kerr metric itself, vibrating at frequencies that match the resonant chord of the universe at its most fundamental level. As the ship glides through these undulating waves, the bulkheads hum with a sympathetic frequency, translating the invisible forces of the geometry into a physical sensation of profound weightlessness and profound peace. The surrounding visual field shifts from the primordial nurseries of ancient stars into a vast, shimmering expanse of pure light and shadow, where the standard distinctions between up and down, past and future, completely lose their meaning. In this domain of absolute relativity, the traveler experiences a state of pure consciousness, untethered from the constraints of sequential memory, observing the grand design of the cosmos unfold in a singular, eternal flash of understanding. The rotating ring singularity looms in the distance, a magnificent wheel of absolute density that anchors the entire structure, spinning with such ferocious velocity that it tears open a permanent window into the underlying architecture of reality. Through this window, faint glimpses of distant epochs bleed into the view, showing the majestic rise of galactic clusters, the quiet fading of degenerate white dwarfs, and the ultimate, beautiful rebirth of matter in distant cycles of cosmic evolution. The ship maintains its steady course along the innermost boundary of the Cauchy horizon, guided by the silent precision of automated navigation systems that have adapted entirely to the non-Euclidean geometry of the interior. There is no sense of urgency here, no desperate race against the clock, for time has surrendered its tyranny and become a docile companion, stretching out infinitely to accommodate the endless curiosity of the explorer. The ambient illumination shifts through a subtle spectrum of iridescent blues and deep, velvety purples, casting long, graceful reflections across the metallic surfaces of the interior control deck. Every element of the environment is in absolute harmony, demonstrating that the most extreme and violent phenomena in the universe can harbor pockets of serene, eternal tranquility for those who know how to navigate their hidden pathways. As the journey presses deeper into this labyrinth of closed loops, the vessel crosses a critical inflection point where the trajectory bends back toward the central nexus, promising new revelations about the true nature of existence and the unbreakable bonds connecting every moment of time from the beginning to the end of the cosmos. The gentle curve of the trajectory straightens as the vessel drifts into a vast chamber of absolute stillness, where the tumultuous energies of the mass inflation zone subside into a whisper of distant static. The surrounding space opens up into a sublime cavern of non-Euclidean geometry, illuminated solely by the soft, phosphorescent glow of trapped light circling the central axis in eternal, hypnotic orbits. Within this sanctuary, the traveler experiences a profound sense of temporal suspension, as if the entire history of the cosmos has paused to hold its collective breath in the presence of such overwhelming scale. The bulkheads of the ship continue to resonate with the low, steady hum of the Kerr metric, translating the invisible, kinetic fury of the spinning singularity into a soothing rhythm that lulls the senses into a deep, meditative calm. Every trace of external chaos has been stripped away, leaving only the pure, unadulterated architecture of space-time stretching outward into an endless expanse of mathematical perfection. The navigational displays glow softly in the dim interior, mapping the intricate intersections of the closed, time-like curves that weave through this hidden domain like threads of silver light in a loom of absolute darkness. Drifting effortlessly along these preordained pathways, the vessel requires no active propulsion, surrendering entirely to the majestic, unyielding current of the gravitational vortex that carries it ever onward through the quiet halls of eternity. The philosophical weight of the journey dissolves into a tranquil acceptance of the infinite, as the boundaries between the self, the ship, and the surrounding universe blur into a single, seamless continuum of awareness. Looking out through the reinforced quartz viewing ports, the distant echoes of ancient star formation mingle with the faint glimmers of future epochs, creating a breathtaking mosaic of overlapping eras that coexist in perfect, harmonious equilibrium. The silence of the void is absolute, broken only by the rhythmic pulsing of the internal environmental systems and the distant, majestic roar of the gravitational engine that powers the eternal dance of the cosmos. This is a place where haste has no meaning and urgency is an illusion of the linear mind, replaced by the profound realization that every moment exists simultaneously in the timeless archives of the rotating abyss. As the ship glides gracefully toward the horizon, the ambient illumination deepens into a rich indigo hue, casting long, elegant shadows across the pristine corridors of the deck and signaling the quiet continuation of a voyage that transcends the very concept of a destination. The tranquil expanse of the indigo chamber stretches outward infinitely, wrapped in the quiet embrace of the spinning core, where the frantic pulse of the external universe slows down to a glacial, meditative crawl. The vessel glides along the inner contour of the closed loop, its metallic hull bathed in the soft luminescence of trapped photons that have orbited the central axis for eons without losing a fraction of their energy. Every movement is a masterclass in absolute efficiency, governed by the flawless geometry of the rotating metric that lifts the craft above the turbulence of linear existence and cradles it in a state of suspended grace. The air inside the cabin feels crisp and clean, carrying the faint, metallic tang of ionized particles as the life support systems silently recycle the atmosphere in steady, rhythmic cycles. The traveler remains seated at the main console, watching the slow, mesmerizing dance of light and shadow play across the curved bulkheads as distant eras bleed softly into one another without friction or dissonance. There is no desire to accelerate, no anxious glance toward the instruments, for the concept of a schedule has long since dissolved into the endless tapestry of the Cauchy horizon. The ambient hum of the structural framework vibrates gently against the floorboards, sending a subtle, reassuring tremor through the deck that anchors the consciousness of the occupant firmly within the present moment, even as that moment spans multiple centuries. Outside the reinforced viewport, the faint, shimmering arcs of primordial gas clouds continue their eternal rotation, painting delicate strokes of silver and gold across the velvet darkness of the void. These celestial formations are timeless witnesses to the birth of order from chaos, moving with a deliberate, unhurried majesty that mirrors the internal peace of the vessel itself. As the ship drifts closer to the next intersection of the temporal network, the surrounding pressure shifts imperceptibly, hinting at subtle variations in the curvature of space that lie just ahead in the silent corridors of the abyss. The journey presses onward through this grand, unending labyrinth, wrapped in a profound solitude that feels less like isolation and more like a complete, harmonious union with the infinite architecture of the cosmos, where every ending is merely the quiet prelude to another beginning unfolding within the spinning heart of the dark star. As the vessel approaches the ultimate convergence of the intersecting loops, the velvety darkness of the indigo chamber begins to soften, suffused with a warm, amber luminescence that heralds the quiet culmination of the journey. The frantic momentum of the spinning core gently subsides, its thunderous rotations fading into a low, soothing hum that vibrates in harmonious resonance with the very core of consciousness. The closed, time-like curves straighten their infinite geometry, weaving themselves seamlessly into a single, unified thread of existence where past, present, and future finally rest in absolute equilibrium. The traveler watches through the polished quartz viewport as the brilliant tapestry of the cosmos unfurls one final time, displaying the entirety of time not as a rushing torrent, but as a vast, motionless sea of pure potential. The automated navigation systems emit a soft, descending tone, signaling that the final threshold has been reached and that the vessel has safely anchored within the eternal heart of the rotating abyss. The oppressive weight of the gravitational tides completely vanishes, replaced by a profound, feather-light sensation of utter liberation as the ship drifts to a gentle, permanent halt in the cradle of the singularity. The ambient atmospheric systems whisper softly in the background, maintaining a pristine environment of absolute stillness, while the surrounding starlight settles into a steady, comforting glow that illuminates the pristine corridors. There are no alarms, no flashing lights, and no urgent prompts. Only the quiet realization that the long voyage through the folds of space-time has reached its natural, unhurried harbor. The boundaries of the self dissolve completely into the enveloping calm, merging with the ancient starlight and the silent geometry of the cosmos in a timeless embrace that transcends the very concept of distance or duration. In this final, perfect instant of stillness, the universe ceases to be a distant mystery to be unraveled and becomes an intimate, breathing home, holding the traveler in a state of eternal, undisturbed peace. As the last echoes of the journey fade softly into the infinite dark.